Hi everyone, welcome back to Math Tutoring. Today's lesson is on math terminology, the number of terms in an expression. So before we talk about how to find the number of terms in a mathematical expression, I'm going to talk about what variables are and constants are, etc. Okay? So let's talk about some terminology first. Now, letters that represent numbers are called variables. Okay, so that's usually when you see X, Y, Z, Z, etc. Those are all letters that represent numbers, and they're all we refer to them as variables. Okay. Now, numbers and symbols that represent a certain fixed value are called constants. So those are numbers and symbols that represent a certain fixed value. So any number or symbol that represents a fixed value, so a value that doesn't change, is called a constant. So I'm just going to show you an example of what I'm talking about. So say you have v equals 4 over 3 pi r cubed. So this is, say, the formula for volume. Now, in this case, v is the variable. 4 over 3, because it's a number, is just a constant. Same with pi. Pi represents 3.14 and it keeps going, so that's a constant. And then we have r cubed, which is a variable because you can plug in different numbers into it. Okay, so for variables you can plug in values. Okay, so keeping this all in mind, an algebraic term is a product of factors. So, for example, if you have an algebraic term, say 3p, the factors of that would be 3 and p. They both divide into this term, into 3p. Okay, so if we have 35x, the factors of that would be 5, 7, and x. Those are the numbers that divide into 35, and x divides into itself. If we had the term 2x squared y cubed, then the factors of that would just be 2x and y. Okay? And if we want to list both the x's, we could say 2x, and then there's another x, and then there's 3 y's. Or you could just list them, at once. Okay. Now, an algebraic expression is made up. They can be created by, selecting one or more terms and joining them by a plus or minus sign. So for example, if you have the following terms, algebraic expression. So if you have the terms 3p and 22, an algebraic expression could be something like 3p plus 22. And we see algebraic expressions in equations. And I had kind of talked about this in some previous lessons of mine, but I did want to review this before I introduce how to figure out the number of terms in an algebraic expression. Okay? So an algebraic expression is something like this. If you have an equal sign, then you're dealing with an equation. So 45ab even just the same thing, 45AB could be considered an algebraic expression. So this one, this is 45AB plus 0, for example. Okay, so selecting one or more terms and joining them by a plus or minus, one or more. So it could be just one. So that's why for this one, we could have, I'm just going to erase that because it doesn't look very nice. So we could have something like 45AB. That would also be considered an algebraic expression. So if we had a squared b, 4ab, and then we had a squared b minus 4ab, this would also be considered an algebraic expression. Okay? Now, a monomial is an expression, algebraic expression, with only one term. Okay, a binomial is an expression, algebraic expression, with two terms. Trinomial, again, is an algebraic expression with three terms. Okay, polynomial, and I'll give you an example of a monomial. So an example of monomial could be something like 4ab, or even 22. Okay, so just one term. A binomial now this here is actually a constant, so I'm going to stick to the 4ab one as an example. I think that one's better because it's got some letters, some variables in there. So a binomial, so an example could be 3p plus 22, so two terms. So the number is considered, okay, so let's just go 45 or 22. So the number is considered a term, okay? So binomial 3p plus 22. A trinomial could be something like a squared b minus 45ab minus 22. And then we've got polynomials, which are many-termed expressions. Okay. Now, if you have an expression within a bracket, so for example, when you have something like 45ab minus 22, so you've got an expression in a bracket, you have an expression in a bracket, this is considered one term. So as soon as it goes into a bracket, it's grouped as one term. So that's something to keep in mind, okay? So if it was outside of brackets, this would be two terms, but because it's inside of a bracket, it is considered one term. Okay, so that's important to keep in mind. I'm just going to do a few more examples. So if we're asked the question, state the number of terms and the name of each expression, and we have the following. Say we have 2a plus 3b plus 4c. So this here would have three terms. This is a trinomial. Okay. If we have 6efg, that has only one term. That's a monomial. Another example could be if we have 2a plus 3b plus 4c. Now, normally if we did not have brackets, this would be a three-termed expression, but because of the brackets, that makes this part only one term, and this is the other term, so this becomes two terms, and it's a binomial. Okay, so this one here, as you can see, is the same thing without the brackets. This is a trinomial, The one with brackets is a binomial. If I had an expression where the whole thing was in brackets, then that would be only one term, and that would be a monomial. Okay, so that's how you tell how many terms there are in algebraic expression.